Hello, hello. This is Christina, your host today, and this is new episode of KSM Podcast, Growing Business Online with Christina. And today I'm super happy to have my special guest speaker, far away from USA, Mr. Neil Twa. Neil, welcome to the new episode of KSM Podcast.
Hello, Christina. Thanks for having me.
Hello, Neil, again. And share about you. Introduce yourself, who you are,
Sure.
what you do, and we will continuously talk about.
Well, yeah. First off, I'm a husband and a father, four wonderful daughters. Been married for going on 17, 18 years, I think, in March of next year. Get that right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I think it's 17 going on 18. I've been in business for myself for about the same amount of time, actually 17 years in business for myself, building offline and online businesses, and have basically found my bent, my movements, agility, changing, and figuring out kind of what I wanted to be when I grow up. I decided that I wanted to play in the world of e-commerce and physical products and brands, and so that's where I've been at for the last 11 years or so. Is building private label brands, launching them and growing them and scaling them, now exiting them, and then looking to acquire some additional brands and doing it with clients and startups and aspiring and entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs, depending upon what stage they are at. So I've written a book. I'm a guest speaker as well as an author, and spend my time out here in about 50 or so acres in the country, hanging out with my family here in the Ozarks in Missouri. And just feel blessed to build a business that's a bit more of a lifestyle. I don't travel very much or travel when I don't want to, and I always take my family with me when I do. So I get to kind of be involved in the lifestyle-driven business as opposed to the corporate world that I came from before. So that's a little bit about me. At least the last 17 years anyways.
Is it a small number of years either? No. It's
such a long
I
don't know. I don't feel like I'm that old. But life has changed pretty dramatically in the last 48 years that I've been around. The internet has made so many things change so fast for so many of us that, it seems like it's gone relatively fast.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I'm 15 years in digital world, building websites and other things. And also, I know as a speaker, as a digital marketer, and also on author of the book, and and I think that we have such a similar, and understand our language through the digital marketing and in business in online space. And when you mention you're in that 17 years in your job, and now it's easier when you're in the online space that you can have much more time for your family, not too much traveling. And Neil, can you tell us, for our listeners, what triggered you? And how did you decide to start your entrepreneurial journey, getting your Voltage? It's digital marketing agents, your company, I'm not sure, but can you share with us, please?
Sure. Are you familiar with the Kiyosaki quadrant at all? The movement from, self-employed W-2 through business owner and business investor. I've kind of followed that track. My poor dad, if you will, not poor in money, but not in spirit, was he's 83 years old now, and he is just a juggernaut with the kids. He loves them and plays with them and has so much fun and comes and visits. They live on the acreage not far from us. And he's a hardworking guy. He kind of dropped out of school to get into the Navy and did a lot of things in the Navy and got a couple of Bronze Stars and a Medal of Commendation and stuff during his time in the Navy. But he was the guy that was a kind of a consummate, hardworking guy. Suck it up, buttercup. He cussed like a sailor, literally, because he was a sailor. And, he never really spoke a lot about money. We didn't talk about finances. He didn't really know a lot about business. He knew a lot about mechanics and cars and machines and equipment and things that he was very, very good at. But, as I got older, I wanted to learn about money myself. And in our house, it was a 4-letter word because we just didn't say it. You would disrespect dad if you talked anything about money. You just, you got enough and don't complain and don't whine. So I learned how to hustle. Right. I learned how to go mow lawns and make money and get things that I wanted to get that was beyond what I was, being provided for. And it was provided for, but we were, we weren't poor and dirt poor, but we weren't, rolling in it. That's for darn sure. But the long story short is, I ended up with an uncle who was an entrepreneur. I ended up with someone who was in business, someone who understood business, was building his own business, a boat company out in San Diego. And with that, I got to understand a lot more about business while conversing with him. And he was gracious enough to spend some time with me and help me, ask questions and learn. And while I went the corporate route for the better part of almost 15 years, he always encouraged me to get out and do my own thing. He said the timing is going to come, get involved in a franchise, get involved in something. But he always encouraged me to do the entrepreneurial thing and always talked about money and finances and really helped me expand my mind around what's possible and think more abundantly. He passed away in 2005 due to an accident, an ultralight aircraft accident. With that, I kind of lost my balance in my mentorship and my person that I was leaning on. Somebody I was thinking and talking to about it as a bridge to get out of my corporate world. And when 2007 rolled around a couple of years later, IBM, where I was working prior to that for almost 5 years, decided they wanted to move my job and position, and my number got called. And it was time for me to decide if I wanted to move to Argentina or if I wanted to take early retirement. And I looked at my new wife, who I just married in March of that year, and I said, "Hey, you want to go into business?" And she said, "Absolutely." So we did, and I left IBM and we went into business that year. And in the first year, that was pretty challenging. We were newly married. We started a business. She is a nurse by degree, a BSN, and was an RN practicing nurse. So we had a little bit of income, and I had a little severance from IBM. And come to find out, my 401k wouldn't transfer, so I lost that when I left IBM. So I kind of went out and kind of started over again. One of the funny things you learn about corporations later on. And we got into that, and I was just getting going when we found out we were pregnant with our first child in September of the same year. And due to physical complications with the pregnancy, she ended up going on bed rest around December in the same year. So we went from dual income, corporate, making a lot of money, getting married, to, she's on bed rest. I have a business I just started, and there's no income. So that was all year one of my new business. I laugh now, but it was pretty stressful back then.
Yeah, but you were blessed to get your first kid, to get in
Absolutely.
happy
Absolutely.
father, so this is.
Well, everyone talks about planning, I want to plan for the right time. I want to have enough money. I want to do this thing. And it could be relative to their life, their personal, it could be when they have children, could be, when they're going to decide to leave their job or whatever. And I will just tell you that if you're going to build, you got to build from the ground up. You're going to, if you're going to be poor and married, be poor and married, and move together and do life together and work together and do it while you have no money. And, just get out there and figure it out. And if you're waiting for the perfect time, it most likely is never going to come around. And you'll keep second guessing yourself until the opportunity is gone, until you're too entrenched into other things. And it'll be extremely difficult, if not possible at all, to get out of it. So because we were young and we were sort of poor and sort of out of money after the first year, we were like, well, we're going to figure this out. We sold our house that we had built to live in, and we moved and sold the cars, and we did the one thing that we needed to do right in all of that chaos, and we gave ourselves more time. We gave ourselves more time to get it figured out.
Now, when you mentioned, I'm super happy to share with us about your uncle, who were your mentor and coach, and inspired you to do what you do. And
Correct.
Also, when you mentioned we couldn't plan, still, just like when we wanted to have kids, because as you mentioned, maybe we can plan about the business, we can plan something like that. But I think when you have opportunity, just move, because this is only one such a good timing for, and after that, when you have kids, you think about them, as you mentioned. So there are many people who don't have kids, and something I think that you can sometimes don't plan everything. I wanted this, I wanted that. I think that is nature. So sometimes you cannot plan that.
I found that moving imperfectly will give you the action necessary to find something perfect along the way that you can become good at, that you can gain experience from. And out of that experience will come the wisdom to know what stupid stuff you shouldn't do anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree with you. And after that, you started. And at the same time, you have growing. Like as a father, as an entrepreneur. It's really amazing. It's really lovely. And when did you start with your company? finally,
So
right?
in that 2007, I started the business that transformed into what I'm doing now, but it was basically 6 businesses up to this point in which I pivoted through different verticals, through different business types until I finally landed on the physical product e-commerce world. So I started in management consulting. It's what I knew. I knew how to do business and technology consulting. So I went out and found some clients that would do that with me. And I started billing some hours for that. I hired a mentor about 3 years into that process because I was finding it extremely difficult to sell and close the business and bridge the gap between an employee and an entrepreneur. I just didn't understand exactly what that meant. And so I got involved with this gentleman who was an entrepreneur and owned a little business there where we were living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And some of the major things he taught me, I've now stuck with my entire life. First one was sales fixes everything. So you need to figure out how to sell something. Sell it with integrity, sell it with honor, and make sure you deliver on it. And then you can keep selling. And that will be, whatever you sell, you'll be very good at it, right? And so he really helped hone that into me. And one of the things he also helped me realize was that I was still trading time for money, just in a nicer way. And I was not an employee, but I was still trading time for money by billing hours. And that was something that was kind of hard for me to grasp. And the next level of risk I wasn't really ready to accept. And that was, hiring other people to do the job. And he really pushed me to do that. So in about a year or so after that time I spent with him, I had 10 management consultants working underneath me at that point. So I had started to replicate that into a business model, which freed my time and energy up. So I started focusing more on the business and development and sales process, which led me to doing more online marketing. And what I discovered was I was really good at the customer avatar media buying side of the business, the leads and acquisitions, the cost per lead, cost per install, cost per acquisition models, which are tied to now what's called affiliate marketing or lead gen. So I became very good at that. In fact, I became better at it doing it than I did at the management consulting. So I actually, was winding that down because I was making more money doing the affiliate marketing than I was managing the consultants and doing the staffing and dealing with their issues and dealing with the project issues and dealing with the billing and dealing with their traveling and all the logistics that are very complicated in a management consulting business like that, where everybody was flying around the country to do projects. And it was much more simple for me to just do the marketing. So I did. And that kind of transitioned me to understanding how to talk to a customer remotely and convince them to buy something and then deliver something of value to them and just keep delivering more value. And that kind of translated into that affiliate marketing. Now I realized very quickly, like most affiliate marketers eventually do, when you don't control the offer, you don't control the whole business. So it became very clear that I needed to control the end. I needed to control after the lead past the click and down to what they actually purchased and have control over what they purchased. So at first I pivoted again into a model that was, digital products. And then I realized from my brain that just didn't translate correctly. What I needed was something physical, not just purely digital. So as I went on that pivot, I started to look at physical products and how to have them manufactured and created, whether I was wholesaling them or flipping them or arbitraging them or having them, manufactured as private label. I just kept digging into that process, which led me to a course of all things on how to sell on Amazon. And I ran into somebody I knew who was doing that and said, hey, you need to go check this out. And that was around 2012. So I did. And, that was kind of basic. I had pretty advanced experience in business. I'd been building a business for a while. At that point, I had understood the fundamentals of business and they were kind of just very basic in the way they taught it. But it did light a fire that the opportunity at that point was to take advantage of Amazon's channel. Because they had bought a fulfillment company and rebranded it as Fulfilled by Amazon or FBA. And they were becoming a very large logistics company, dumping billions of dollars into the infrastructure. And I thought, okay, well, that sort of solves certain problems of the business model. Let me focus on what I'm good at, driving leads, talking to people, and building an avatar of a marketing engine. So I did, and I discovered I found a friend in that process. His name was Reed Larson, and turns out he is the operational, detail-oriented logistics, financial management guy. And he's not the marketing avatar guy, sales guy, and I am. So we basically discovered we were kind of one brain, two people, one brain. And then after an hour phone call, we said, let's do some business together. So we started to test launching physical products. We just flipped some products that were really simple for us to get a hold of. Learned the process of selling on Amazon to start in that mechanism and having them deliver the products for us, so we didn't have to physically deliver them ourselves or box them up in our basement or warehouse or garage, and actually had Amazon deliver it and got really hooked on it. It's kind of fun. And when it started to sell, I was like, wow, this is cool. Like there's this whole system, there's this whole group of people that are buying like crazy. And we said, okay, let's move beyond just flipping products for profit, because that wasn't, totally fulfilling. Let's get into branding, which really we kind of understood, but didn't really understand what branding actually means. And so it took us about 3 years to figure that out. And in about 3 years, we finally hit a 7-figure business using Amazon's platform to deliver the products and us to market and create and manufacture the products. And once we got past 7 figures in revenue, all of a sudden, so many light bulbs went off. Systems, technology, people, processes, it got all very standardized as to how we were doing it. And then we were able to repeat it over and over again. We got to pretty good at it, enough that the people who were in the community where we started the course were like, hey, why are you having so much success? What are you doing differently than what they taught us? Can you show us? So we started to show a bunch of people, just in our spare time, how we were doing it. And then that got really overwhelming, because we were spending way too much time helping those people and not enough time building our own business. So we said, okay, well, now you have to, pay us for our consulting time. I'm a consultant by nature, and my partner has been a consultant too. And so now you're going to have to pay to consult with us, because that's going to stop a lot of you from taking so much time, and we can then move you into groups. And, it didn't intentionally become a course. It became a consultancy. We did the small group one-on-one coaching with them. And that kind of helped us, also test more products faster, to see more about what would work in the market, what different products would work, and, better systems. And people were learning from us, and we were learning from them as they tried things. And we spoke as a group and a mastermind, if you will. And that really helped us grow fast. And since we've evolved now into multiple brands and private label brands and complete systems and ecosystems and software and multiple vendors and multiple manufacturers and relatively large systems, we've taken on not a lot of clients during that time frame. We formed Voltage in 2019 to really kind of culminate the stuff we were doing in and around all of that, and really for the specific intent of becoming an Amazon aggregator, which was going to go out and raise capital and buy companies, because we were very good at the operations. And we are very good at the operations. So long story short, it took me about 18 months and I raised about 100 million in capital. And during that time frame, the market changed dramatically as some of the large guys came in ahead of us with some of the large capital funding groups. And with that, they overpriced the market. And we pulled back and stopped, because they were buying, 30 and 40% above market value. And we simply didn't want to pay that for it. It didn't make any sense. The numbers didn't work. So we put that on pause, and we just continued to keep growing and build our business. But now we're back in acquisitions mode. We have 3 companies under a letter of intent now to purchase, and we have a different funding with a different kind of mission behind it. We have a veteran-backed, veteran-owned, veteran-operated private equity group called Patriot Growth Capital. And with our operations team and their capital raise and mission as a business, we're going to be putting veterans into the operational controls of these companies, and then helping them to build them up and then exit them after 5 years. So,
it's such a great story. And and thank you for sharing, because it's like a step by step. For our audience, it's going to be so interesting, because sharing your story and your experience. Because when you mentioned I was pivoting and trying many things, when you shared about it, about sales, consulting, and other things, and finally, as you mentioned, 2 head, 1 brain.
Yeah. We're 2 different people, and after 12 years of being together, we're like a married couple now.
Partnership.
Yeah, we're like a married partners. We argue with each other, and we have fun and enjoy each other's company. We're very much in our verticals, so believe it or not, we don't talk every week, because we're very focused on the aspects of what we're doing in Voltage. And then we catch up as we do and run our client business and our partnerships and our operations and, our business investment now. So I'm into the kind of final quadrant, if you will, which is, beyond business operator. So much of the system is now operated and controlled and managed by operation teams with structure. And we don't actually have any employees. I have CEO operators that we trained over the years who became successful business owners with us and alongside of us. And they are now running operations of our consulting as well as our partnerships, and will also be helping us with the operation controls of the companies we're purchasing. So I actually don't have any employees. I have hired guns and CEOs of companies that help us run our businesses.
You mentioned and at the moment, and you mentioned you started with Voltage 2019.
Correct. The Voltage Holdings company that we were operating is where the different software verticals, brands, we kind of put them all into one holding company. They were separated before, and we formed Voltage to put them in a holding company so that we could go out and raise the capital for
it's Voltage is one umbrella, and under that umbrella you have a few.
Correct.
Few
we have the digital marketing and consulting side. We have the software division, which is a wholly owned subsidiary, and we have the acquisition side of the house and the partnership side of the house, and each of those are different verticals within the holdings company.
And what is the main at the moment, what is the core of your business? You mentioned many, but what you are mostly focused on, and who do you mostly work with as your clients? I mean,
so core of our business is our partnerships. It's brands that we're controlling, operating, and working through our partnerships with. Our consulting division is very close to that in terms of time, which are clients that we're working with who are either aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs with businesses we're helping to elevate, grow, optimize, and create more profit.
You mean that you can help existing companies, business models to move, or work with startup or someone who wanted to start business? And
we work with both. So we train operators to become CEOs, and those who maybe already have an Amazon channel or a TikTok or a Shopify, or their direct to consumer brands that want to attract more customers, say through Amazon FBA, then we work with them in a consultative measure to help them increase profitability, grow their business more, and then help them with the exit, because we are both the beginning and the end. So if someone works with us, whether they're new or existing in their business, the goal is to get them to an exitable state. And there is a particular, what's called buy box, that we're looking for to acquire these companies that meet this criteria. So we help them build the business in such a way that they meet our criteria for acquisition. When they do meet that criteria, we give them what's called a first rights of refusal. It's not a contract, but it's an opportunity to do an off-market deal in which we look at their business and look to acquire it from them. So again, we're both the beginning and the end of the business, if you will.
And what would be the size of those companies? Like, it doesn't matter how many they have employees, or, and they work, and does that mean that they're mostly in online world? And you work globally?
They're all purely online, yeah. Purely online, even if they have a retail channel in terms of retail outlets versus our own stores. We don't buy companies or operate companies that have a retail presence. They're all online or in sales channels. They will typically be a minimum of 3 to 5 years old. They will typically have more than $1.5 million to 3-5 million or more in EBITDA, minimum $1.5 million. And some of them are 10 to 20 years old, and some of them are between 5 and 20 million a year in sales, depending upon which vertical and brand.
And this is going to be such a good, because when you mention about this condition, like to minimum 3 to 5 years. So for all your listeners who will listen to this episode, just maybe if you have something similar and you wanted to connect with Neil, just connect. If you are in that position to have a company like this, and you wanted to move forward, to grow, to position, is that correct?
Yeah, anything in the e-commerce and physical product world is what we touch in multiple channels. So Amazon FBA or TikTok or Shopify, a holistic e-commerce company is what we run. If they're new, I will typically bring a new entrepreneur who is aspiring or wants to grow or get into this onto Amazon FBA first, and teach them the sales channel of FBA, and then help take them into other channels once they've learned how to start with that one first, because it's the one that has the most sales out of the gate because it has the most people looking for it.
And so I will put all those links about Voltage and other things just for people,
Okay.
for listeners to connect with you, Neil, just like to know much more about it. Or do you have any kind of checklist or something like that to share with our audience?
Well, the affect by which we do this, we call it a team effort. Okay, it's a done with you, not a done for you team effort. That is a variable by which time, energy, attention, and money are a focal point of the success of these businesses. So the time requirement, you understand that the first year of business in any business, including physical products, is the building year. Okay, the first 12 months is a building year, maybe knowledge building, it is product building, it's brand building, to which you do the right steps. And in year 2, you should be into growth. Okay, so for the next 12 months or into 24 months, you should be in growth mode. That is acquiring reviews, acquiring more products in the business, and launching more products, as well as acquiring more market share. Do a great job of that. And then by years 3 and 4, you should be into scale. Scale being your brand is maturing, your product line is maturing, your top sellers are now taking up 80% of your revenues. Your profitability is strong. Okay, you should be 18% to 20% net profit, or EBITDA, if you will. And you should be looking for opportunities to create omni-channels where you are moving into your own website, you're doing ads and funnels, you may be on TikTok shops, you may be at Walmart, you might be at Wayfair, just wherever it makes sense to open up additional sales channels. You may even go out and solicit retail and try to get into Costco or somewhere else. And we can help you support all those activities for growth. And then the preface of that is I'm going to be looking to buy that company away with our private equity group and put it into our portfolio.
It's very interesting. Thank you for sharing. And you work with companies all around the world. It doesn't matter.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah, they're usually based in different locations. Most all of them, to be very clear, sell in the United States, either through a direct-to-consumer or through Amazon.com, just because America is such a large juggernaut. While there's 20 countries that Amazon is in, the top 5 don't make up all of Amazon.com. So we really focus on where the buyers are and where the products are being shipped. But if they are, if they're living in another country and selling in the United States or want to sell in the United States, we work with folks from all over the world.
And when you mention affiliate marketing, do you have some kind of affiliation of affiliate of some maybe people who wanted to work with you, like to refer you some companies or just to connect?
Well, I do have a referral. Clients? Yeah, quite a bit of my business comes from those who have directly benefited from the relationship. They'll talk to friends and family and coworkers, and we do get quite a bit of referrals from those who have success. Absolutely.
And the affiliate marketing. Do you create some, excuse me, just don't forget it. Do you have to create some kind of affiliate link for those people that they can?
No, because I'm not doing it on kind of mass. We're not a course. We're not a program. I'm not trying to put 1,000 people in every month. So I am, I'm the only sales guy, quote unquote. I'm the disqualifier and the qualifier. Everybody who wants to be a part of our company.
And how potential affiliates or people who wanted to connect you with potential clients can connect with you to talk about it? Like
they can connect with us through any one of our channels. If they're ended up on my website, voltagedm.com, and they decide to book a call, they can typically see on there who referred them or put in a referral name. People will message me on all the social medias or they'll email me. But if there's referrals, they typically figure out a way how to get to me. And it's usually a personal relationship.
And thank you for sharing, because this is so good for our audience, maybe. Some of the listeners wanted to work with you and have something as opportunity to refer you some kind of company.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love my referrals.
Yeah. I love to be honest, and should that, I have many questions for you today, Neil, and it's very interesting, and your story is very interesting, very, educational experience and like a masterclass to say it. You also run your podcast, and can you share with us the name of your podcast and who do you mostly host?
Yeah, it's called the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, and you can find me on all the networks and everything. We're now a top 3% on Listen Notes, top global 3%. We've interviewed all kinds of business people, typically who do more than $1 million to $5 million a year in their business line. And it's predominantly, I'd say 80% of it, 90% in 2025 will be focused on e-commerce or the business of e-commerce, and the fundamentals around it could be financing, software, tools, strategies, things around AI, graphics, physical product research, and any success or case studies that I have in my business or those who have had success in the same model. We'll be interviewing them in 2025. We've been doing it since 2021. So this will be coming up on our third or fourth year, if I do the math correctly in my head. We're about 150 plus episodes in now, and you guys can check that out everywhere you listen to podcasts.
And thank you for sharing. Like my guest and podcast, I started maybe like you, but it was from Entrepreneur Day, and after that, in 2023 in January, I've done rebranding, and now it's like a top 20 by FeedSpot in category of online business. When I uploaded there, that guy he sent me a personal message and say that he's so happy because I just uploaded that, and it's such a kind of obligation for me to get and engage with speakers and entrepreneurs who are so successful as you are, and share their stories. So
I found it to be a great referral of communications and meeting wonderful people like yourself. Which I've enjoyed doing the podcast for that reason. It's, it's who that gets you there, and it's what that keeps you there, right? So we got to keep out there and make those connections.
Yeah, that's really lovely. So I asked you today many questions, and when people just wanted to connect with you to help them to move forward in and scale their business in some way, and what I wanted to before, we will have another, it's in 2025. I think that we will have much more episodes. And for listeners who wanted to start business, or some message to encourage them to start a business, or maybe if they're stuck and they don't know how to start with something, if they have business idea or have existing business and they wanted to change something or try something new and something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I always encourage the physical products business for a lot of reasons. I like the tangible assets. It's not just purely digital, although we get the benefit of a digital market. There are so much infrastructure and technology in place now, you don't have to touch the products. And it provides a great fulfillment to have a brand that people love and want to buy more of and enjoy the products and give good feedback. So that's always fun to watch as those products go out. And frankly, there are millions of product opportunities. So I'll be here for another decade or two, continuing to grow into the e-commerce space, because there's just so many products and so much to do. You can't do it all. So I also like the aspect of literally having an actual product, taking a tangible asset for tax write-offs, but also just the physical component of having the products is wonderful as well.
And did you mention that you're a writer and speaker? Just can you share with us a little bit, and that we can continuously just...
Yeah, I've always spoken at a lot of events. I do a lot of virtual events, and I've done physical events as well. Hosted my last physical event in 2016. There's about 800 or so of us in San Diego. But I've stopped doing my personal events and just ended up doing some speaker events when I get asked to come speak on stage. I don't travel much anymore for any of those things. So if they're not within driving distance, I don't do them anymore. But I do have a book that I published first part of this year, 2024, and in January will be the first year in 2025. It's been out. And it talks about the strategies that we deploy in Voltage. It talks about the methods. It has case studies. Interviews from my podcast in there, and follows the process of our 5x5 product launch playbook, and gives you some very good understanding on the time, energy, attention, and money, the finances, the product research, and the steps that we take to build these businesses. It's a strategy guide. It's not a tactical guide. It's not going to give you go here, push a button, but it's really going to teach you what a strategy of a 7 or 8 figure business looks like. So you can really get your mind around what it would take to build and grow one of these. So then the time comes to look at implementations and stuff, we can talk about that. But it's out there on Amazon. It's also on my website for anybody who comes to my website.
And can you just repeat the name of that book?
It's called Almost Automated Income with FBA. It's about profiting and growing and scaling almost automated income through the Amazon FBA channel to start, and then going into omni channels once you develop your brand.
So for all your listeners who are going to listen this episode, so go to the website voltage.com. Is that correct?
VoltageDM.com. Voltage Digital.
Excuse me,
Oh, that's okay.
voltagedm.com. You can find
VoltageDM.com.
podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Voltage Business Builder,
Yep.
Neil's book, and also you can connect with Neil to help you to grow your business.
Yeah.
Neil, it was such a pleasure having you today. I'm so happy. Thank you for joining the episode today to interview, and we will talk again in 2025.
Wonderful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it, Christina. Thank you.
And have a lovely day. Bye for now. Bye.